The Indiana Fever select Caitlyn Clark, University of Iowa.
And one more this way, right here.
If there ain't a white guy out there for you, I'm gonna create you one.
All right.
So here we go again, back with another one. Welcome to the Dark Times channel. And before I get started, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button for me. And if you're not new to the channel and you enjoy the content so far on this channel, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me as well. And so as you all know, Caitlyn Clark was selected #1 overall by the Indiana Fever.
The Indiana Fever select Caitlyn Clark, University of Iowa.
And since then, and even leading up to then, it's been nothing but mayhem. Caitlyn Clark mania. She's everywhere. Saturday Night Live. Good Morning America. You name it, all over the place. And I've never seen anything like it, especially from an individual that never won. And we all know they tried.
The drive, 5 seconds left, looking for Beckers and an offensive foul!
Aaliyah Edwards barely leaning, and the foul is called. Oof.
As talented as Clark is, and as talented as Clark was throughout the tournament, she needed help. She needed help from the refs, as I've stated in previous videos. And before too many people get their underwear in a bunch, this is not a Caitlyn Clark hate video. This is not an Iowa hate video. Quite the opposite. Got nothing but respect for anybody that dedicates their lives to perfecting their skills in any particular craft. And so that's not what this is. I'm simply going to be talking about some of the realities within sports entertainment, because that's exactly what you're watching. It's sports entertainment. And whether people want to admit to it or not, there's no greater way to sell sports and sporting events than race.
Pervert charts go off the wall when the challenger is when the challenger's white. There, I said it, Doc. White.
I'm glad you said it, Stu.
It ain't about race. It's about boxing.
There's a reason everyone has lost interest in the heavyweight championship of the world. And it's very simple. People are tired of paying good money to watch this beat up. The highest grossing fight in the history of boxing is Cooney versus Holmes.
And so absolutely, no doubt about it, that was probably one of the most hyped fights, entertainment events in history. And it came down to race, whether people like to accept that fact or not. It was solely on race. In fact, during that fight, or towards the beginning of that fight, they did something that they never do.
Tradition in boxing parted with in a very major way here. They introduced the champion first. I was quite surprised, Barry, because normally champion gets the respect of being announced last.
And not only that, there was a special telephone that was installed in Gary Cooney's locker room, so that if he won, the president of the United States, Ronald Racist Reagan, would give him a phone call. There was no telephone installed in Larry Holmes' locker room. President Reagan wasn't going to give him a call if he won, because he didn't want him to win. America didn't want him to win. America wanted Gary Cooney to win because he was the great white hope. And after Gary Cooney lost, he was on record as saying, "I was that close to getting the phone call," Cooney said, chuckling. "I might have become vice president, who knows?" And that would almost be funny if he didn't actually believe that, and there wasn't a level of truth to that. Because if a so-called white person happens to get a victory and can dominate a so-called black sport, they get elevated to the stratosphere. They get a level of treatment that no other athlete gets simply for being dominant in a so-called black sport. And the sad part about it, it really doesn't even have to be in real life. You can have a fictional character like Rocky be immortalized and have a statue in Philadelphia based on a movie. They don't even have a statue of Joe Frazier in Philadelphia, and Joe Frazier was the heavyweight champion of the world, beating Muhammad Ali and knocking out everybody. And no statue of an actual heavyweight champion. But what did they do? They put a statue of a Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone, somebody from a fictional movie that managed to beat black actors in a movie. And so, like I said, it goes back to image. Image is everything. And certain groups of people understand how image affects the morale of a particular group of people. And the only fight that's managed to surpass that Larry Holmes, George Cooney fight was Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. That's the #1 selling fight in pay-per-view history. And we all know how that turned out. You could clearly see Tyson Fury moving his hand in and out of that glove. Clearly he was punching with his fist where his fist shouldn't have been. But nobody cared. People didn't care. They'll take a win any way they could get it because they realize what's at stake. They realize image is everything. And they wanted to see an image of a Tyson Fury bringing a Deontay Wilder to his knees. Didn't matter how it happened. Nobody cared. Even though we all saw what we saw, everybody was telling us we didn't see what we saw. And so this is exactly what's going on with Caitlyn Clark. And so I think there's a little bit more going on beneath the surface with this situation. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Especially right now, everybody knows that there's a big movement and there's a big push to try to push certain athletes into women's sports. Something of this magnitude, when you're talking about certain athletes being allowed to play with women, something of that magnitude, there's not going to be a vote for it. They're not going to put it to a vote and have a committee say, you know what, okay, it's time to let these particular groups play with women. That's not going to happen. What they're going to do is they're just going to do it. They're going to do it right under your nose. Because when I watch certain videos and I see certain pictures, you can't tell me I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. And everybody sees the same thing. But that's neither here nor there. There's very little that anybody can do about it. It's all speculation, and all you can really do at the end of the day is sit back and watch the show, whatever show that may be. But I think what the NBA and what the WNBA are doing is genius. It may be sinister, but at the same time, it's genius. There's a level of genius to it. And David Stern is the architect of that genius. Because a long time ago, David Stern is on record as to saying the NBA is about stars. That's what drives ratings, stars. And despite what anybody tells you, stars are not born, stars are created. It takes a lot to create a star. Talent alone won't create a star. It takes cultivating. It takes marketing. It takes a lot. And right now, Caitlyn Clark is being cultivated. She's being marketed to the highest degree. She shows up to the WNBA draft wearing Prada, and the headlines are, Caitlyn Clark makes history by being the first female athlete to wear Prada to a WNBA draft. Every little thing that she does is going to be marketed to the highest degree. Nike just signed her to an almost 8-figure deal. The red carpet is being rolled out, and she hasn't won anything. But she's about to. They're about to change that. And I wouldn't be surprised in the least if within the first year or two, Caitlyn Clark actually wins a WNBA championship. I wouldn't be surprised in the least. And then on top of that, she gets drafted to Indiana. Of all places, of all teams to have the #1 pick, Indiana. It doesn't get any better than that. You couldn't write a better script. Her fan base is right there. Every game is going to be sold out. There's going to be a passion when people show up to watch Caitlyn Clark because of where she's playing. And then not to mention her rival in college, Miss Reese, got drafted to Chicago. And we all know Chicago is synonymous with so-called black people. So like I said, you couldn't write a better script. Chicago versus Indiana, Reese versus Clark. And this is reminiscent of Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. And so like I said earlier, it's the same script, the same playbook. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I would have done the exact same thing, no different. And so the WNBA is about to blow up like we've never seen it. And I wouldn't be surprised within the next 5 years if the WNBA ratings start to catch up to the NBA ratings, especially if the NBA continues on the same path. Because what we're watching in the NBA is pretty similar to the WNBA. Players are going to be jacking up a lot of threes. There's not a lot of defense that's going to be being played. And so it's all about who's got the better storyline. And if Caitlyn Clark and Angela Reese or whoever else they decide to pump up can give you the better storyline, then that's what the people are going to watch. People are always going to go with the drama. And so don't be surprised, like I said, within the next 5 to 10 years, if the WNBA actually catches up to the NBA when it comes to ratings. But that's all I had on this one. Make sure y'all chime in the comments section. And as usual, peace and chaos.